Oh my God, everybody. There's breaking news. Silver prices broke $4 per gallon in the UK 14 seconds ago.
What?
What? Yeah, it's right.
Oh.
We just have a whole 20-minute presentation that we threw together in the last 14 seconds since, silver prices broke $4 per gallon in the UK. Okay, so do you admit that in recent years...
Me?
Yeah, you. Do you admit that in recent years, rising gasoline prices have sharply altered the budgets and behaviors of billions of people, including lots of business owners and governments?
Yes.
You're being so cooperative so far. I thought you were going to be more fun.
Okay, fine. Maybe if you say so.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your confidence and complacency. However, even though billions of people know from their firsthand experience that rising gas prices have made a difference for them and stuff, well, no one would seriously assert that there's a similar importance to gold or silver or most anything else, right? What has been of a big, new thing in the last decade or so, similar to gasoline prices?
A big new thing?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, what has been a big new thing in the last 10 years? Gasoline prices. The invention of chocolate.
Chocolate!
That's correct. Okay, so, but what if, emeralds or rubies or precious metals or paintings by Rembrandt tripled in price in just a few years? Would that, affect budgets of billions of people?
No!
Yes!
Why?
Yes, it's very, because, okay, maybe not. Well, okay, so, but relative to gasoline, emeralds are of very little importance, and so is gold. That's what I'm saying.
I put emeralds in my gas tank.
In 2011, silver prices broke $4 per gallon in the UK.
Wow.
That's right. So, how many households would experience a major budget crisis due to gold prices reaching 10,000 yen per ounce?
3.
That's correct. Exactly 3. And we're not amongst the 3, so we can move right on now. How many businesses would experience a major budget crisis if prices of gold exceeded 10,000 per yen for an ounce?
130.
130. And how many nations would experience a major budget crisis due to gold prices reaching 10,000 yen per ounce?
2.
That's also true. It's amazing. So, realistically, gold is probably no more important to most of us than yen. Do you know what yen is, by the way?
It's Japanese money.
That's correct. That's right. The currency of Japan is yen. So for most people, gold's not of much importance, and neither is yen, and neither is the prices of doorknobs. Oh my God! Doorknobs broke 14 cents per unit last week in Madagascar.
We're going on vacation!
We gotta go there. We gotta take advantage of that, huh? All right. So for me, gasoline prices affect my life personally in multiple ways, while prices of silver and gold and doorknobs and yen and minerals and emeralds, they're relatively trivial still, no matter how close gold or silver come to oil's recent 1,200% rise in 9 years. That's me using the important voice. Okay, whenever I use the important voice, I don't even know what that is. Pay it close attention. Okay, is that Richard Simmons? What is that? So I focus on price of gold and silver and so on now only as a joke. That's the whole thing about per gallon.
Yes.
Silver's reached $4 per gallon.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a joke. Okay, so I focus on price of gold and silver as a joke and as a gimmick to wake up those of you focusing on minor commodities like silver and gold and doorknobs and emeralds and all that. And why would we focus on silver and gold? I say, having experience in the matter, which I'll get to later, about focusing on gold and silver, I say that we focus on these things in order to appear loyal to the herd mentality of the patriotic American.
But I am American!
Yeah, but are you a patriotic American with an excessive perfectionist tendency about your American heroic saviorist?
How dare you say such things?
To ask that question?
Yes.
I mean, are you like really an American?
Yes.
Are you just pretending? 'Cause,
No, I.
Okay, who was the first president of the United States?
It was
You don't
George
know.
Washington.
Okay, fine. All right. So if you want to be like a patriotic American, you got to focus a lot on silver and gold prices. You'd have to. And so that's proof that you are not a patriotic American. If you were a patriotic Japanese person or a patriotic European Unionist, then you would focus also on the record prices in silver and gold, because that's what patriotic, obsessive, like neurotic perfectionists do. And I say that having been one.
I think you have some friends like that.
That is fighting words, and I'm going to send this video to all of y'all friends of mine that might be patriotic obsessionist, secessionist or obsessionist, whatever. Okay, so in 2004, there's like the wherever, like down here, I can't get that close to the camera. Down here or over there, or wherever it is, there's like going to be a graph somewhere of or not a graph in this case, but the very important stuff of the article in 2004 where I wrote, how many dollars will it cost to buy a gallon of gasoline next year? So I was aware of the issues that some of you might be aware of now. I was aware of before, just kind of pointing out the history of that. So instead of focusing on gold and silver to be a patriotic European Unionist, I publicly focused, starting in 2004, as shown, on the surging importance of gasoline prices and the simple mathematics of peak oil, as well as the obvious predictable effects of the future rising of fuel prices on the economies of places like the US, UK, EU, and also on the stock markets and real estate markets there.
Cheers! I like it.
But don't you want to know about like how much an ounce of silver costs in yen?
No.
Whatever. Okay, so you might have noticed a few of these changes, like in stock market prices or real estate market prices in the U.S. or UK or wherever you may happen to be. You may have noticed a few of these consequences of what I'm calling the domino oil effect, consequences of rising fuel prices. So you might have noticed some of them. I show here about 100 years of gasoline prices. You can see that there was a major trend down from the early 20th century till 1999, with a relatively minor exception in the late 70s and early 80s. And then in 99, bam, a huge shift that carried it all the way back to, what oil, we're close to what oil, what a gallon of gasoline cost in like 1910 or 1900, when there was hardly any technology to produce that at all, like really early time period costs of gasoline, when it was incredibly rare. So those who are obsessed about minor markets like gold or anything else minor are welcome to keep focusing away from the big picture and long-term stuff, and things that are important like your own budget and the things that affect your budget. I mean, I assume that's important to you. So note. Well, you may be on a fixed income or whatever, and you may be watching this for your own entertainment value, which is fine too.
Okay.
So I may continue to confront you, though, with the possibility that the current economic shift could be an opportunity, like a check that you could simply have been refusing to cash.
I want that check.
Well, then cash it. So it's like you can. So why would we refuse to cash a check? Again, I mentioned this outside of before the video started, that a perfectionist who's wanting to be loyal and ideal to the patriotic American hero or savior myth, well, we have to do the right thing, and that means we can't be independently wealthy, or maybe it means that. So if we make that up, if that's in the background, then we wouldn't cash our check, whether it was $2,000 or $200,000 or whatever.
I would
Okay.
so cash that check.
And as I said, you are not a patriotic American. But being a patriotic American is like optional when it comes to like happiness and wealth. Like you could be a patriotic American or not. You could be. It'd be fine. It's like not an issue, but you don't have to be a perfectionist about it unless you do.
Okay.
All right. So I may keep talking about opportunities present, like a check that you might accept cashing or might refuse to cash, and I'll keep talking about the next 700% profit in a few months, and I'll show the chart of that. Not the next one, but a prior one. I may keep talking about big profits like 700% in a few months, accessible by trading fluctuations in major markets like the U.S. stock market, while other people keep talking about 700% profits or $700 profits in a few years in minor markets like gold or silver, or much less favorable results like that than that, though. So not even 700% in a decade. So I'm not going to really say a lot about the chart, but there's two trades, each of them a couple months, or the first one about 1 month, and the second one, I don't know, took a few months to make that second 300%. You put 100% gain on top of or you put a 300% gain on top of a prior 100% gain, and in a few months you got a 700% gain.
That's amazing.
I'm glad you think so. So anyway, there'll be more opportunities like that. But back in my March 2003 publication, I want to get back to the thing about me having experience as a perfectionist, patriotic American and such, and my focus on oil and so forth. Well, back in my March 2003 publication, I focused on precious metals in the U.S. stock sector, which went on to gain 900% in only a few years, which is the HUI is the ticker symbol. It's gold and silver mining companies, certain gold and silver mining companies. So I focused on those two opportunities back then, and I focused on HUI for the early part of that gain from $35 to $350 as an opportunist, not just as a, because it's the loyal, patriotic American thing to focus on mining companies, and a lot of these were Canadian and other countries, in fact. But anyway, so HUI went up from 35 to 350 in several years, and there's a chart of that you can look at. And then the last 5 years or so, HUI has gone up barely another 50%, up to just passing 600 in recent weeks. And yeah, that's high. That's an all-time high.
Yeah.
But the 900% gain in 5 or 6 years that I was in the middle of, I think that what's the next 900% gain in a few years, or the next 700% gain in a few months? Not what's the is the thing that's gone up 50% in the last 5 years, going to continue to go up 50% in the next 5 years? Well, that's a perfectly fine exploration. It's just really different. I prefer 900. She prefers 900. What about you? Not everybody can get the 900, but some people will. So, like a check that is available to cash, will you cash the 900% gain check, or the 90% gain check, or none of them?
900.
I don't know. Or maybe you'll do a different one than the ones I mentioned.
900.
Okay. Sound pretty good, huh? So, for those, I'm totally being right here, just in case y'all didn't know this. It's all about being right. For all the people who only joined the conversation about HUI and gold and silver in the last 5 years or whatever, last 6, 7 years, note that I was there first. Basically, that's all I'm saying. I was there first, and it's not that important. Like, oil is more important, and for you practically, it's not just that I noticed it first. Like, even if you didn't notice it first, notice now. Gasoline is important. So for those of you who joined the conversation, about metals or whatever in the last 5 years, note that I moved on from metals to oil in 2004 and 2005. I started focusing on oil, and there will be news about gold and silver. Silver breaks $4 a gallon in the UK or whatever. All-time high in potassium prices, whatever, right? So there'll be stuff like that, and the mainstream news will catch on to it whenever they do, and there'll be just a herd of people that are focusing on those kinds of issues. Those kinds of issues are not the 900% gains in a few months or even a few years. That's just, you're not going to get in on those gains by waiting for the mainstream news to tell you what you've recently missed.
You got it.
Was that well stated?
I like
pretty
it.
Well stated.
Very good.
Okay. So I wasn't obsessing about gold, in 2003 when I was focusing on gold and the HUI stock sector. So I could just be another loyal herd follower of the ideal of patriotic American heroes or patriotic European Unionists or whatever. I already had that conversation about being the perfect patriot, and I moved on. And initially, I moved on to other forms of neurotic perfectionism than, the patriotic perfectionist ideal. But even by 2003, I did some very simple research and noticed the top performing U.S. stock sector of the prior years, which was HUI, and I began exploring a conversation for prosperity, in which I said, this stock sector is one to watch, not the other U.S. stocks. I said, and you can, share the link as you wish. I said, gold and silver and other precious metals are going to outperform the U.S. stock sector in the next few years. They did, certainly. And the mining sector for those first few years, 03, 04, 05, 06, mining sector continued to do really well. Much better than the actual metals. Did you get that?
Yes.
Cool. Good, it's clear.
It is.
So I began exploring this conversation for prosperity even in 2003, and whether that involved minor markets like potassium or silver or gold or doorknobs, or major markets like oil and the U.S. economy as a whole. And it's easier to predict what's going to happen with oil in the U.S. economy as a whole than it is for, prices of coffee or potassium or doorknobs or whatever. Coffee's actually a pretty big market, but
yes,
so is doorknobs, I suppose. It's just
coffee, sugar, cocoa.
Yeah. All right, so gasoline. So back to the reference of silver breaking $4 per gallon in the UK. Well, it so happens that gasoline prices in the UK are currently over $8 per gallon, and in Germany and the Netherlands, gas is now over $9 per gallon and was over $10 per gallon in 2008. So that's a little perspective. So if you ever see any dramatic headlines about high silver prices, record high, oh my God, note that such a headline is for people who might not be ready yet to digest headlines about gasoline prices of over $10 per gallon in Europe or anywhere else. Even consistently remaining over $10 a gallon. So silver might break a new record price, but so what? The Beatles might reunite and go on tour with Elvis Presley, but so what? Sales of new homes in the U.S. might go up or down a few percent, but so what? Apple might put iPhones on sale for 1 week only, a special price, but so what? Wait, did someone say that silver prices broke a record? That's just ridiculous. I can't believe I didn't focus more on that. It's going to be on my tombstone. I focused a lot on silver prices, or maybe on oil prices, whatever. But just in perspective and relative, it's ridiculous to focus on silver price that much. I mean, you should focus more on silver prices. I mean, don't you think?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And so anyway, if gasoline prices pass $10 per gallon, like in the U.S., or wherever you happen to be, and never return to single digits again, then you might consider that silver prices are actually not at all important to you or me. Did I just say that?
I agree. Yes, you did. Woo!
That was rough. I apologize for anybody who just heard what I just said and was offended by it.
He doesn't.
Woo!
He's being sarcastic, in case you can't tell.
So, did you hear the joke yet about record silver prices causing widespread self-importance and millions of loyally patriotic Beatles fans like me worldwide? You did? She did. She just got